week 2 of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few hitters I look to sell and trade this week. The first hitter, Anthony Volpe of the New York Yankees. Anthony Volpe last season was his rookie year, and it wasn't that great of a year in terms of batting average and on base, but he still finished with 21 homers, 60 RBIs, and 24 stolen bases with a 209 average. But so far this season, he's white hot, just like this New York Yankee team. 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 10 runs scored, a 417 average, and a 488 on base. So Volpe, I'm not saying he's not going to put up huge numbers this season or be a guy that could be a top 30, 40 fantasy player, but right now, well, he's playing way over his head and hitting 400, obviously in a lineup that's loaded with this New York Yankee team. He's a perfect sell-high candidate, especially at the shortstop position, where I think you could get more than another position for the most part, because we know shortstop is one of the weaker positions in fantasy baseball. April 5th versus Toronto, 2 for 4. April 6th versus Toronto, 0 for 3, a run, a stolen base. April 7th versus Toronto, 3 for 4, 2 runs, 2 stolen bases. And April 8th versus the Marlins, 1 for 3 with a homer and 3 RBIs. So right now, well, he's doing a little bit of everything is Volpe, especially with the batting average. He's a perfect sell-high player this week. I'm not saying just trade him for anything, but if you could get a good deal and even a low-end shortstop and a starting pitcher, I think it's worth it this week. The next hitter, Tyler O'Neill of the Boston Red Sox. So Tyler O'Neill, maybe a change of scenery is just what he needed, because the last 2 seasons have been down for him in St. Louis, and now traded to the Red Sox in the offseason, and he's putting up some monster numbers in the early going. 5 home runs, 5 RBIs, 12 runs scored, a stolen base, a 357 average, and a 514 on base. So right now, I know it's only 28 at-bats, but he's been on base more than half the time is Tyler O'Neill. And he's always had legitimate power, obviously, but to play in a better hitter's park like Fenway Park is always a plus as well. So the last few games for O'Neill: April 2nd at Oakland, 1 for 5 with a run. April 5th at the Angels, 3 for 4, 2 homers, 2 RBIs, 3 runs scored. April 6th at the Angels, 0 for 3. And April 7th at the Angels, 1 for 3 with a homer, an RBI, and 3 runs scored. So right now, he's in the meat of the lineup. Anywhere from 3 to 5th, they've been fluctuating him around in the lineup is this Boston Red Sox team. And like I said, the power definitely is legit, but batting average and on base hasn't been a specialty for Tyler O'Neill. And even last season, we saw the lack of hustle as well with the Cardinals. So like I said, maybe it's his breakout season with the change of scenery, but right now, I'm still not 100%. He's going to have a monster year, is O'Neill. Like, he's on pace right now. It's only 2 weeks into the season. So right now, well, he's playing good baseball, and he's playing hard for this Red Sox team. He's a sell-high hitter this week. The next sell-high is Michael Conforto of the San Francisco Giants. And Conforto last season was his year back. After 2022, he sat out the whole season with a shoulder injury. And so far this year, off to a monster start. 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, 8 runs scored, a 351 average, and a 415 on base percentage here for Conforto. So Conforto, he wasn't drafted in a lot of fantasy leagues, and now he's owned in 75%. But the thing with Conforto is injuries have always been a concern for him. 1 great month and 2 bad months, great month. It's just not consistent throughout Conforto's career. And right now, he's banged up a little bit with a side issue. So if you could get him off your roster and get something of decency in a deal, I think you can. I'm not saying Conforto is going to be on the injured list as Conforto, where there's a chance he returns in tonight's ball game or tomorrow's ball game as Conforto. But like I'm saying, with that track record of him having a lot of injuries throughout his career, and months where he'll hit 10 home runs and months where he'll hit 150 and have 1 or 2 home runs. So right now, well, he's off to a hot start like he was last season and fizzled out. This is a perfect time to sell him this week. April 3rd at the Dodgers for 4, 2 RBIs. April 5th versus the Padres, 3 for 4 and RBI. April 6th versus the Padres, 0 for 3. And April 7th versus the Padres, 0 for 3, and sat out last night's game versus the Nats. So right now, like I said, with Conforto, it might be early season thing where he's off to a hot start and then slows down and the inconsistent numbers come up. So right now, well, he's playing good baseball, and it doesn't look like there'll be a trip to the injured list here for Conforto. He's definitely a sell-high hitter this week. The next hitter is Gurriel Jr., the Arizona Diamondback. Gurriel, we know he's got some pop in his bat. Last season, 24 homers, 84 RBIs. Even going back to his Blue Jay days, he had some power as well. And so far this season, off to a nice start. 3 homers, 12 RBIs. 10 runs scored, a stolen base, a 298 average, and a 365 on base. So yes, Gurriel is going to bring power to fantasy owners, but the high batting average, I don't really see it lasting this season. The on-base percentage as well is going to drop, and not really someone who's going to score a lot of runs. So pretty much homers and RBIs he's going to bring. No stolen base upside as well as Gurriel, even though this season he's put the ball in play a little bit more on percentage compared to last year. April 5th at Atlanta, 2 for 3 a run at Ribby. April 6th at Atlanta, 2 for 5 a run. April 7th at Atlanta, 1 for 4 with a run. And April 8th at the Rockies, 1 for 5 with an RBI. So right now, like I said, Gurriel, there's plenty of players that do similar things with him and show more pop. So like I said, he's a 25-30 home run hitter, but everything else, he's not really going to bring fantasy owners, is Gurriel. So right now, well, he's off to a good start, and this Diamondback team is slumping, of course, as well, with even his good start not meaning much with the D-backs losing 5 in a row. He's a sell-high hitter this week, because like I said, Gurriel, a lot of players could do and put up the stat lines he's doing. And also as well, they got an abundance of players over there in Arizona. And fifth and final hitter I look to sell in trades, Jake Burger of the Miami Marlins. So Jake Burger, he's been off to a monster start. We know he's got legit power, no doubt about it. Last season between the White Sox and the Marlins, 34 home runs. And so far this year, 2 homers, 12 RBIs, 6 runs scored, a 286 average, and a 319 on base. So the only positive sign for Jake Burger, in 42 at-bats, he's only struck out 9 times. Last season, he struck out 150 times, which is a big number for Burger. And his batting average so far has been good. So Burger's going to have power. But this Marlin team, we know, is the worst team in the league, obviously, with only 1 win on the season and 11 losses. So right now, Jake Burger, he's showing power so far in the early going. His batting average is good. But like I said, this Marlin team, there's not much in that lineup to protect him. And I think the numbers are going to drop off as the weeks go on. And as this Marlin team continues to struggle, April 3rd versus the Angels, 1 for 4 in RBI. April 4th at the Cardinals, 2 for 2 with 2 homers, 2 RBIs. April 6th at the Cardinals, 0 for 4. April 7th at the Cardinals, 1 for 4, 2 RBIs. And April 8th at the Yankees, 0 for 3. So like I said, this Marlin team, worst team in the league right now. Not going to win a lot of ball games, it looks like, unless they have a drastic turnover this season here. I know it's only 11, 12 games into the year, but like I said, this team can't hit the ball. Their pitching staff's all banged up, hurt, especially Yuri Perez, Sandy Alcantara out with Tommy John surgery. And right now, Burger, there's a possibility he might get flipped at the deadline, because this Marlin team easily could be out of it by mid-May, where they're so down in the standings, especially in the NL East and even the wild card with stacked teams like the Braves and the Phillies, that he might be flipped. So right now, while Burger's playing good baseball, but like I said, not a lot of protection in the lineup, and teams can pitch around him a little bit more. He's a perfect sell-high hitter this week, so that's a few hitters I look to sell and trade for week 2 of the fantasy baseball season.